everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Primrose Moses. If you are new here, you are welcome, and if you're coming back to this channel, please do not forget to subscribe, to like, or to comment. Okay, it helps me to create more content. It helps me to know that, okay, you know what I'm producing is really making an impact. So please don't mind, do not move past this video without liking. Even if you don't comment, just like. Come on. It helps the analytics. It helps YouTube recommend the video to other people so that other people may learn and other people may be encouraged from the story that we have in this testimony, especially the testimony of the conjoined twins, the Moses conjoined twins. And so today I will be talking about the delivery of the conjoined twins. Now I'm going to talk about the 2 days before the delivery. So 2 days before the delivery, I was scheduled in to be admitted for steroids. They wanted to inject me and give me steroids for the twins, and the steroids usually help with the baby's lungs. Like if the lungs are not fully developed, remember the twins were born at 36 weeks, and so that means they're kind of preterm. They're not really fully preterm, but they're preterm, and usually this steroid is offered to parents who are pregnant and they suspect that your child might come out early, and also like maybe for people with singletons it could be between 23 weeks and 33 weeks. But you know what, it's you can research that yourself. But for myself, they wanted to give me that steroid to make sure that, you know what, the twins lungs are fully developed, considering that they had heart situations going on. And so I took it. I went in 2 days before I was admitted, and they did that injection, and so they had to monitor me. So I went in on Friday. They monitored me, and whilst they were monitoring me, the reasons why they were monitoring me mainly were because I had gestational diabetes, and so for steroids they kind of spike up the sugar levels, and so they didn't want any of that happening. So they wanted to monitor me. Really, the specialist doctors and everybody that was at UCLH really looked after me. I was admitted at UCLH, so I gave birth at UCLH, and then the kids were moved to Great Ormond Street Hospital. All right, so University College London Hospital is where I gave birth. And they looked after me very well. They monitored the twins, and yeah, London hospitals are quite diverse, and I was so impressed to see my Nigerian mamas. The midwives were looking after me. I also had a Zimbabwean lady looking after me, a midwife. Oh my God, I was so fond of her. I loved her so much, and she was one of the best. I had the best. I had the best. Like God sent the right people at the right time to look after me, to make sure that everything was okay. And so when they were, they monitored me throughout the weekend. So from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was monitored to make sure that my sugar levels were not high. And if they were high, then they would give me a little bit of insulin to, to stabilize things. The twins, they behaved themselves. There was no distress. There was no high, high heart rate. There was no low heart rate. Everything was normal. They continued to to comply, which was amazing. It took away all the worry, and also the team really assured me that everything was gonna be fine. And so the C-section was planned on a Monday morning, and so on Monday, morning, I got ready. I took a shower. I wasn't allowed to eat because it was going to be a C-section. This was a planned C-section. For my first child, I had an emergency C-section, which was another trauma on its own, because at that time I was more of a naive person. I didn't do my research so much, and so I went through that emergency C-section without knowledge, etc. And it kind of had an impact on me after the delivery. I had baby blues. I nearly went into postnatal depression, but thankfully, I managed to survive it. And this time around, it was a planned C-section. Everything was planned. It was more calmer. I knew what I was getting myself into. I did my own research. I was asking so many questions. They took me along the journey, so the doctors were not just making decisions without talking to me, or without consulting me. So I was consulted. I was aware of every single thing that they were doing. And so in the morning, I signed the paperwork, signing my life away, made sure I took a shower and I was clean down there, for my dignity's sake. Yeah, so yeah, I remember going into the toilet of the ward where I was, and just kneeling down before God and just praying, surrendering my life totally to Him. Because look, giving birth is a big thing, is a big deal. There's a thin line between life and death over there, guys. A woman could easily lose her life just by going through that room, and you could just hear that she bled a lot or something happened. Both baby and the mother did not survive. So that was my moment of prayer, to say, Lord, I'm giving you control over everything. Can you take control over the doctors? Be the surgical person, be the lead surgeon in this. Perform the surgical work, the spiritual work. Give the doctors the wisdom. Give everybody who is in that room wisdom. And sometimes there are agents of the devil in hospitals, guys, that are ready to kill babies the moment they are born, or kill women the moment they deliver. And so this was my moment of saying, Lord, take over, take control. I surrender my life, I surrender my babies, I surrender everything into your hands, and I ask you to take control. And if it was to be my last day, you know what, Lord, receive me as your baby girl. I wasn't afraid of death, but I was aware that what, God was in control, and if anything, I would go to heaven confidently. Hallelujah. Have you ever heard that clip of a man of God who said, if you don't see me in heaven, then you are in hell? You're not in heaven. Yes. Anyway, I digress. So I went into the C-section room. My days, I wasn't trolled in. I walked into the theater and it was so cold. I think they do it in such a way that it's cold so that there's no infection. It's a cool environment. And there were almost 18 people in that room. It was overwhelming. I was like, why this many people? But I realized that this was something that is, rare. And so everybody has to be on their toes. The anesthetic doctors, two of them, the midwives, two of them, the obstetricians, two of them, there were two twos, and also the neonatal doctors, everybody was like, on deck, ready for these babies to come out. And yeah, the anesthetic doctor gave me an epidural. Yes, guys, I did not get a general anesthetic where I would sleep through. I was awake through the delivery of the twins. The epidural numbs you from here to down there. I think from chest, kind of underneath my breast, to down to my lower bottom, and I couldn't feel anything there. But the theater bed is so tiny. I had a backache for days, and my bum was hurting for days for being in that position for a while. And yeah, the anesthetic kicked in, and then within 20 minutes, the twins were brought out. Now, people ask me who's older between Zion and Zayn. The twins were supposed to come out together, but somehow Zion was facing upwards and Zayn was facing downwards. We do not know how, but somehow the way they were joining, it kind of twisted. And thank God they were alive, because they could have choked each other somewhere. I don't even know. But Zayn came out first by a minute, and Zion came out second. So the eldest is Zayn, and Zion is the last born of the family. Yeah. Hubby was next to me. He wasn't allowed to actually see exactly what was happening. It's traumatizing. You don't want to see your wife being cut into layers, like, deeply. And so they didn't allow him to see the whole process. But I think there was I'll put a video of what was there. He could see the babies coming out. I could see the babies coming out as well. And so when they came out, they were blue. Imagine, they were blue, and I was thinking, are they okay? Are they okay? And in that moment, my husband and I were playing music. We're allowed to play music. I was listening to Victoria Orenze music. It was amazing. Music that kept me calm. The music that kept me, faith up. Gave me that crazy faith that everything was gonna be okay. Yeah, and the twins, after a minute or after 2 minutes, uh, I heard them crying. So they took them aside, took them to a different room. To be honest, they had already prepared me. The neonatal team had prepared me beforehand as to what they were going to do, so that I'm not like wondering where are my children and stuff. So they took them to a separate room, checked everything. They have to check literally everything, check their hearts, check everything, their stats, make sure that they are okay, there's no complications, there's no further complications, that they came out exactly the way they had thought they would be according to the scans. And so they put oxygen on them for 2 minutes, and babies, they began to retain their color, and they brought them to me to see. I think actually first they called my husband to come and see the baby. So my husband went and saw them, and in that moment, uh, I think, was it that moment? I can't remember. But then I remember we had to dedicate the twins there and there, because you know what? Once conjoined twin, most of the complicated pregnancies, the hospitals, they want you to perform a blessing just in case anything happens. And so we dedicated the twins to the Lord in case they had a couple of hours to live. But God forbid they lived long. All right, they would live long. They surpassed they surpassed everybody's expectations. Um, Immediately they were dedicated to the Lord. They brought them to me into a room after I'd been sewed, and after I'd been stitched up, cleaned up and made sure I was okay. Gosh, seeing those two, the very first day was just, the very first few moments was just amazing. I cried, guys. I cried, I cried, I cried. I was like, but you know what? To that very moment, I was hoping the twins would come out separate, but they didn't. All for the glory and honor of the Lord. Um, the twins were so beautiful. I was like, are these my kids? They came out so light. Their hair was so curly. They were just so gorgeous. But in that very moment when I saw them, they had put cannulas, they had put every equipment you could think of on them, even oxygen just in case of anything, so that they, once they get to the neonatal team in Great Ormond Street, they are all ready to be connected up. And so uh, yeah, I think they came and told me afterward, after like a 30 minutes, that they were about to take the twins away from the UCLH hospital to Great Ormond Street. My heart, guys, my heart, knowing that I'm gonna be in this hospital for another 5 days recovering whilst my babies are in another hospital was such a hard thing. I wasn't even able to go and see them that very day because I was under so much pain. I was recovering from one of the biggest C-sections. The C-section was not that bad because what they did is they went onto the actual, they cut through the same scar I had with my firstborn. And so that's how they came out. They didn't have to do the classical C-section where they would cut me horizontally and vertically. They just did a horizontal line, and yeah, the twins came out. They were quite tiny. They were like 2 point, were they 4 pounds? 4 pounds each, which is 2.2 kilograms, 2.25 kilograms each. And yeah, that's how the twins, came to this world. It was such a miraculous day. God proved himself to be a faithful God. They went to Great Ormond Street, and those guys were amazing. They were sending me pictures every single day, showing me their journey. And also my husband would go video call me. You're not allowed to video call at the neonates, but because you're the mom, they can allow you to video call. And so it wasn't the same as seeing them in person, but it was nice to know that they were there. But it was, you know, they didn't also want the twins to eat anything. Like, the twins were starved for 2 or 3 days, guys. The only thing they could take was colostrum, like my colostrum, and I wasn't producing much. I wasn't producing anything, So what they were taking is, the water and salt sugar solution, the drip. I don't know what they call it. I've forgotten all the terms to all these medical things. It was just, yeah, something else. But thank God that the twins survived this journey. Thank God that they are alive and well. And I think I recovered from the C-section. I didn't recover fully, but I was ready to come out of that hospital after like 3 or 4 days, um, and they finally discharged me. And I went to see the twins at Great Ormond Street. Oh, what an emotion. I cried. I cried. I cried, guys, and I was told I'm not allowed to stay in the neonatal section. I had to go to another room, but it was within the hospital, but it was quite a distance. So because I had a C-section, I couldn't walk much. So my husband would wheel me out, in and out. And after like, I just can't remember the number of days, but I think the twins were in the neonatal stay for less than 6 days, and we were moved to a different ward, which was the chameleon ward, where it was a private room. The twins had their own cot, and I also had my own bed on the other side. That was much, much better because I could stay with the twins together with them. And at that time, my milk began to come out. And I just want to encourage your mama out there. Maybe you are in the neonatal, your child is in intensive care unit, and you're struggling to breastfeed, milk is struggling to come out. You're not alone. I struggled. My milk did not come out for days. It took a while for for the milk to come out, and because of all the stress that I had gone through, all the struggles, it affected my hormones. But I didn't give up. I continued to express because I really wanted the kids to have that, milk that was going to be good for them. Not that the other milk is not good for them, but I also wanted them to have those antibodies, considering the complications that they had, their heart conditions. Those two, the reason why we stayed long in hospital is because of their hearts. Their hearts were so delicate. Their conjoining may not have been the most complicated of things, but their hearts needed looking after, because in case they get any sicknesses, any RSVs, any colds or anything, literally it would be bad. Like, they would have to put oxygen on them because it affects their heart rates, it affects the way they breathe, and it puts a lot of pressure on their bodies. And so yeah, that's how I delivered the twins. I'll try and put some videos of the whole C-section. We tried to vlog, we tried to take pictures, we tried to vlog, but I'll try and put, but yeah, that's the story of how I gave birth to the Moses Miracle twins.